Good evening, my friends. My name is Father Falak, and I'm your host. This afternoon, I'm a missionary priest in Church of the Ascension in Lower Burton, and I'm going to bring and introduce you to someone special from Salford. And here we go. We got with us Father Daniel Burton. He's a parish priest in St. John's Church in Salford, and he is area dean of Salford. He's a very dear friend to me. We know each other for a long time. We work in the Diocese of Manchester, and it is my great honor and privilege to welcome him live from Church of the Ascension. And he's going to tell us about his inspiring journey as a priest, as an area dean, and as a man of God. Father Daniel, welcome to this show, Someone Special.
Thank you very much, Father Falak. It's very good to be with you.
Father Daniel, we know each other for a long time, but for the audience's sake, they might want to know where you were born and brought up, where you were educated. So all these small questions I'm going to ask on behalf of the audience. So let us know where you were born and brought up.
Thank you, Father Falak. Well, as I say, it's very good to be with you this afternoon. I was born and brought up in the Rossendale Valley, which of course is part of the Diocese of Manchester, just about 15 to 20 miles north of here. I was brought up in the small village of Waterfoot, halfway between Rawtenstall and Bacup. I have got lots of family connections there still, and my mother's and father's family have lived in that region for many, many years. I was educated at Bacup and Rawtenstall Grammar School, and after grammar school, I went to train for the Baptist ministry in Regent's Park College in Oxford. So that tells you something about my background. I was brought up in the Baptist Church, not in the Church of England.
Wow, that's a huge conversion from Baptist to Anglican Church. It's a big conversion. So when did you feel the call for ministry as an Anglican minister?
Well, I heard the call to ministry very soon after being baptized. As you'll be aware, in the Baptist Church, we don't baptize infants. We baptize people when they're old enough to decide for themselves. Mm-hmm. I had a very strong sense of wanting to be baptized and follow Christ when I was about 15, 16. And it was just after my 16th birthday in 1979 that I was baptized. So I was an adult, I was a believer. And soon after that, I sensed really quite strongly a call to ministry, which I naturally worked out through the Baptist training scheme. I was a Baptist minister for 4.5 years. But during that time, I'd had many experiences that had connected me with Anglicanism, with the Church of England, but also with the wider Anglican communion. When I was a Baptist, I worked as a volunteer in Ramallah, in the West Bank, Palestinian territories, next door to Israel, and had a great deal to do with the Anglican Diocese of Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. So I'd had lots of Anglican connections, all of which led me really to discover that I was more at home in the Anglican tradition than I was in the Baptist tradition that I'd inherited. Mm-hmm. So I sought to move, and through a very long route and a long story, I was sponsored by a bishop in South Wales, in the Diocese of Llandaff, in the church in Wales. Wow. I spent a year at their training college in Cardiff, which was then called St. Michael's Theological College. And having been a Baptist minister for 5 years, I became an Anglican deacon in 1994, and was ordained as an Anglican priest in 1995. So I've just celebrated 25 years as an Anglican priest.
Wow. Congratulations, Father. Congratulations.
Thank you very
You
much.
Father, you mentioned your link with Jerusalem, with the Holy
Yes.
Land, and I believe you still got a very strong connection with the Holy Land, and you take pilgrimages there. And are you still involved with any special ministry?
Indeed, yes. I mean, I've been very, very privileged over the years. It's a part of the world that really gets into your heart and into your soul.
Yeah.
And I lived there for 2 years, so you can imagine that I had plenty of time for it to get into my heart and soul.
Yeah.
When I came back from there after 2 years in 1988, I was invited to become a trustee of the charity Bible Lands. It was then called the Bible Land Society. It subsequently became Bible Lands, and it subsequently became Embrace the Middle East, which is what it now is. And for 20 years, I was a trustee of that charity and was privileged to take many groups, not only to the Holy Land, but also to Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. And I retired from that role after more than 20 years involvement in 2013. And a couple of years later, I was invited to be a trustee of a much smaller charity called Action Around Bethlehem Children with Disability, ABCD, which supports a number of projects working with children with disability in Bethlehem and around the Holy Land. And I'm still involved in that. So I took a group for them a couple of years ago, and God willing, I'll be taking a group for them next year in 2022.
Wow. Audience, anybody is interested to visit, contact Father Daniel Burton sometime. So you will be happy.
You'll be very welcome to join us.
It is a very, very great ministry, and the involvement with the Holy Land is very, very strong. How long you been minister in the Diocese of Manchester, Father Daniel?
I did just under 10 years in the church in Wales, and I moved to Cheetham Hill in the Diocese of Manchester in 2003. So, of course, coming back to the Northwest, coming back to my roots, as it were, and settled in Cheetham Hill, where I was priest in charge of the parish of Cheetham. And at the end of 9 years there, I was for 2 years I was area dean of North Manchester. And and then in 2012, after 9 years in Cheetham Hill, I moved to my current post as team rector of the Salford All Saints team.
That area is very, very prestige area, Cheetham Hill, because you got Prestwich and you got Cheetham Hill. It's a Muslim and Jews. They live together. So how was your experience working among the Muslims and Jews living in your parish?
Well, one of the reasons that I went to that parish was because I was very interested in interfaith work and trying to relate my Christian faith to the other major faiths of the world. And you're absolutely right. I mean, Cheetham Hill is unique, really, in the Diocese of Manchester for having within walking distance of my home there in Cheetham Hill. I could walk to a Gurdwara. I could walk to a mosque. I could walk to a synagogue. And that was, walking from my church. So, four places of worship representing four of the great faiths of the world. We did many exciting and interesting things to do with interfaith, particularly, I'm particularly proud of the fact that we started the Cheetham Multi-Faith Festival, and that still continues, which is a celebration of the multi-faiths of the Greater Manchester area, and really tries to promote that multi-faith agenda as a blessing, not as something to be frightened of or as a threat, but as something which is a blessing. And we certainly had some great and rich experiences working with the different communities in Cheetham Hill.
Yeah. Excellent. Father Daniel, you mentioned you work as an area dean. Many of the audience who might be watching now and watch later might not know this Anglican term area dean. What is area dean and what is area dean's role?
Well, you asked me that question, Father Falak, at a very interesting time in the history of our diocese, as you know, because I've been area dean in Salford now for about 3.5 years, and I'm about to give up the job at the end of June because new area deans have been appointed, and the new area dean of the new deanery of Salford will take over on the 1st of June. So, sorry, I'll be giving up my post at the end of May. And the new area dean starts on the 1st of June. At the moment, the Diocese of Manchester is marked out into 20 different deaneries, each with an area dean. And the area deans have been a kind of administrative role between the priests at the grassroots level and the archdeacons and the bishops. They act as a kind of conduit or channel to be able to pass information from the parishes and the clergy to the archdeacons and the bishops, and also to receive information from the bishops and archdeacons and share that information with the parishes and the clergy. They have a particular role during vacancies. So I'm not breaking any secrets to share with you that our colleague, the Reverend Sandra Kearney, the rector of Ordsall, is retiring after Easter. And the parish of St Clement's Ordsall will become vacant. So once that happens, I and the church wardens become what are called sequestrators. We become the key people who are responsible for that parish during the vacancy. So it's our responsibility together to ensure that the parish is looked after, that the services continue to happen, and that in due course, hopefully, a new incumbent is appointed. When things are going smoothly and when all the parishes are full, as it were, when every parish has their own priest, then the area dean's life can be relatively easy. Relatively straightforward. But in times of vacancy, the area dean's life can be very busy indeed.
Thank you. Very, very, very informative conversation we are having. And Father Daniel, we got a new changes coming up in the diocese, and these deaneries are going to shrink into 7 deaneries now, and 7 area deans are going to be appointed. Just let us know what is happening about these changes.
Well, that's absolutely right, Father Falak. As I hinted at, we're meeting at a very interesting time because this transition is taking place at the moment. So I am not a full-time area dean. I'm a full-time parish priest. I'm an incumbent of 3 parishes in the Salford All Saints team here. And on top of that, I have to do the work of the area dean. But the system that we're moving to in the summer is that our 20 deaneries are becoming 7 much larger deaneries with 7 full-time area deans. So the new area deans will not be responsible for parishes. They will be working full-time. They will be in charge of a much larger patch than I've been in charge of. So if I can take Salford as an example, the current Archdeaconry of Salford, which includes 3 deaneries, the deaneries of Salford, Eccles and Lee, will be combined to form the new deanery. And the full-time area dean will be serving that whole area, which covers something like 50 parishes.
Oh my!
And they will still have responsibility during vacancies. They will also have new responsibilities, nurturing and mentoring and encouraging new incumbents. So we've got an awful, as you know, we've been very blessed in recent years with quite a large number of ordinations in our diocese.
Mm.
And we've a lot of assistant curates now, in their first 3 years of ministry, are moving towards becoming incumbents.
Mm.
In a few years, it's anticipated that we're going to have a very high proportion of the incumbents in our diocese who are first incumbents, who may need a lot of support. So the full-time area deans, one of the things that they will have to do will be to support the new incumbents.
Wow. Excellent. Father Daniel, what do you think church is going during this pandemic? And what is your personal experience as a parish priest and as an area dean? What is the situation the church is facing during this pandemic?
Well, let's start with all the positive things, Father Valak. The church has been quite remarkable, I think, in responding to the challenges of this time.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but 12 months ago, I'd never even heard of Zoom.
Yeah.
These days, it seems to be taking over my life. And sometimes that can be frustrating, but of course, it is also a blessing because it's enabled us to connect and also to continue the work of the church virtually in a way that we couldn't have imagined 12 months ago.
That's
and
true.
I think churches generally around certainly around this deanery and around the diocese generally, I think, have been really remarkable in rising to the challenge and in coming up with creative ways to worship online, to hold meetings online, and to offer pastoral care over the telephone, by post, by email. I think on that front, churches have really done remarkably well.
Yeah.
Now we also know, of course, that that churches have suffered like the rest of the community. We've all lost members of our church in this pandemic, and our churches have all suffered. Many of them have suffered very seriously financially, which has had a knock-on impact on the diocese. I think some of our churches are undoubtedly facing an existential threat. I fear that too many of the churches in our diocese have been dependent on people in their 70s and 80s, and in some cases in their 90s.
Yeah.
And that this pandemic may have accelerated that aging process, and may take those people out of circulation forever. So I fear that some of our churches are going to emerge from the pandemic considerably weakened, and there'll be a lot of hard thinking to do about how we best operate and how we best take our mission forward, I think, over these coming months and over the next 12 months to 2 years.
Yeah. It's a very challenging time for all of us. But as you said, we have learned a lot, new things. Even the parishioners who never heard about Facebook and Zoom, and they are learning new skills. And many clergy also, we are coping very well with the technology now. And I think technology is really blessing. And through technology, today the whole world is going to hear what you are just communicating with the world today, and so many information you are sharing. They're very, very helpful. Father Daniel, would you like to give a message of hope to the audience, and especially to the congregation of Church of the Ascension in Lower Burton?
Yes, well, I think I'm right in saying, Father, have we just passed the 4th anniversary of the fire? I think the fire took place in February 2017.
Yes.
When I was actually in the Holy Land at the time, with a group that included a number of people from Salford, And when we were in Bethlehem, we heard the tragic news of the fire that had burned down the Church of the Ascension.
Wow.
It has been a source of great encouragement that we've seen over the intervening 4 years, the church literally rising from the ashes. I see you have that symbol on your banner these days.
Yes.
And of course, we've literally seen that with our own eyes. And there can be no greater sign of faith in the future than people building churches at this time.
Yeah.
And I think that the very act of the rebuilding of the Church of the Ascension is an act of faith.
Yeah.
It's an act of promise.
Mm.
It's an act of commitment, isn't it, to the future?
Yeah.
And I'm certain that is seen and witnessed by the rapidly changing community of Broughton, Lower Broughton, all around the church.
Yeah.
I drove past it the other day and was staggered to see all the new housing around there.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting to see a church which will be, to all intents and purposes, a new church at the heart of it.
Mm.
So in many ways, I think it's no exaggeration to say this is the most exciting mission opportunity in the diocese at this time.
Yeah.
I know of the great connections between the church and Riverview School.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of the potential of that community because of all the rebuilding that's going on around there. I'm aware of the faithfulness of the existing members of the Church of the Ascension who have kept the faith and kept the light burning during some very dark years.
Yeah.
And all I can say, Father, is don't even think of giving up now, because you're almost there. You're on the the penultimate step.
Yeah.
You've got to the top of the mountain, and you're going to experience a transfiguration very, very soon.
Yes. Yes. Praise the Lord.
I think it's a tremendously exciting time to belong to the Church of the Ascension.
Yeah.
And I hope and pray that all goes well, because the church deserves to have a great future. And I think your appointment there as mission priest is a very, very exciting, again, act of faith, act of promise, act of commitment. And I expect great things.
Mm. Thank you, Father Daniel. Thank you very much for your time and the way you express your faith and you share your faith journey, and your milestones are excellent. God bless you, and God be with you, and a great inspiration to many in Salford, and especially to me as well, as a friend, as a colleague, as a priest. And God bless you.
Thank you very much indeed, Father Falak, and all the very best to you, all the very best to the congregation at the Church of the Ascension.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My dear friends, next week on 3rd of March, we will be having a very active lady from Lower Broughton. She is involved with the park. Her name is Carrie, and she will be talking about relationship between the church and the park and all these people who are connected and with the Church of the Ascension. So we are going to have a very exciting interview on 3rd of March. So don't forget to watch that. So tonight there will be night prayer, and we will be doing night prayer at 7 o'clock. So join us at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much, and we'll come back again with meet someone special on 3rd of March. Stay safe wherever you are, and thank you, Father Daniel.